Alright, so before I start putting all these things in front of the camera, I just want to start this video off with these clones that I'm about to show you are my prized possessions. So, I'm gonna be ranking them, which sounds, it sounds bad, I know, but I mean ranking them in order of my least favorite to my favorite. So, let's start it off with this guy, which you can't really see because he's not in focus, but there he is. This was originally Commander Wolf. I don't really have too much to say other than that, but for whatever reason, I felt the need to turn him into an original creation Mimban Mud Jumper, which is from the Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 5, where they were mentioned. They weren't even shown, so this is just me testing out paint, pretty much. But yeah, that's really all I have to say for this guy. And here we have Waxer. And Waxer is one of my favorite clones. And this look specifically is based on his Season 1, Episode 20, I think. Innocence of Ryloth is the title. But, this is pretty much based on that, except you can see that little blue symbol up there. That was my attempt at the Numa symbol he has on his helmet, on all the rest of his armors in the Clone Wars. So this is like post Battle of Ryloth Waxer, which, I don't know, I just wanted to add my own little flair to it. But that's really all I have to say about Waxer. Next up, Echo and Fives. Both of these guys, these were my first custom clones, and I'm still extremely proud of them. I'm especially proud of how this Domino Squad logo turned out. You can see I even got the Arabesh at least kind of accurate. But yeah, these guys, they are what started my addiction to custom clones. And I think these looks are definitely underrated because they're from one episode in the Clone Wars. And for whatever reason, these looks just stood out to me, and I was like, you know what? I have 2 SH Figuarts Clone Troopers, Phase 1 Clone Troopers, so I'm just gonna make Echo and Fives. And here, this one's pretty special. Phase 1 Commander Cody. So, Commander Cody, if you didn't know, he's the Marshal Commander of the 212th Attack Battalion, which is assigned to Obi-Wan. This is his Phase 1 armor, obviously, and if you don't recognize him now, you'll probably recognize his Phase 2 armor. Anyways, this Phase 1 armor I had to make because it's so iconic to me, because whenever I look at it, it always reminds me of Christmas 2008 and getting Commander Cody and Captain Rex back then and absolutely loving them. And it's pretty nostalgic to have now an adult collectible version of this guy. And I'm pretty proud of how all the battle damage and stuff looks on him. So, yeah. Alright, we're getting into the Phase 2 guys now. So this is Tup, and he was introduced in one of the best story arcs in the Clone Wars, the Battle of Umbara, and he's still a rookie then. And I tried to show that in the paint, which you probably noticed that he is much less scuffed up and battle damaged than the rest of the clone troopers that I've shown. And I hope At least I hope that you noticed, because that's something that I tried to get across, is the age and the rank of the clone trooper based on their battle damage, which is very clearly shown here on Hardcase, who was a heavy gunner, at least in the Battle of Umbara, and you can see he has dings and scratches all over him, especially towards his feet. But this guy is a heavy gunner, so he will be on the front line, and obviously he will be being hit with explosions or shot by blasters on occasion. So I tried to show that in the paint, and I think at least it shows up pretty well. And boom, Jesse. Jesse was the first ARC Trooper I made, but before he was an ARC Trooper, he was just plain old Jesse. And I knew, as soon as I saw ARC Trooper Jesse, I knew that I had to upgrade the Jesse I had before, because, for one, I always thought that Jesse's design previously was a little bit bland. I like the character, but I thought his design was pretty bland. But you can see these custom pieces, at least the pauldron, is from JohnWalkerCustoms.com, and the pouches and the holsters and the guns and the backpack are from Henchmen for Hire on Etsy. But yeah, I'm super proud of how this guy turned out, especially for what he means in the final episodes of the Clone Wars. And yeah, I'm just generally proud of how this guy looks. And that brings me to Kix. So Kix, if you didn't know, he's the field medic for the 501st. And he's also the last surviving clone in Star Wars canon. And I absolutely love his story, and so I've spent a while trying to perfect his design, which it's not perfect. But I am still proud of how it looks, and of course I can always change certain aspects, like the medic symbol over here. That used to look absolutely terrible, and now it just looks slightly less terrible. But I am proud of how this guy looks, and he's one of my favorite clones. So I hope I did him justice. And speaking of doing characters justice, here's ARC Trooper 5s, and as you probably noticed, this blue is a lot lighter than the other blue, and that is accurate. And it's a detail that I really didn't notice until, I think, last year? Yeah, it had to be last year, 2019, because I was rewatching Season 6, and I just noticed it, and I was like, how did I never notice this before? Anyways, this is my latest clone trooper, and probably my last custom clone trooper, because SH Figuarts discontinued the clone trooper because it's been 3 years since they released it, and they're most likely not going to re-release it because they sold terribly. Anyways, this guy, I always wanted to make this version of 5s, but I was always scared to do it because I thought that I couldn't do it justice. But as you can see here, I'm very proud of this, and I think I really nailed 5s, and I'm so proud of how it turned out. And the blue just, it looks so good, and I'm so proud of how the shin armor turned out, and the chest armor, which you can't really see. But yeah, I I'm so in love with how this guy looks, and I'm so glad I was able to do him justice. And that brings me to my number 2 clone, which is Commander Cody, and I consider this clone to be my magnum opus. This Cody is probably my best work, but he is number 2. We'll see number 1 in a second, and I'll explain why he's number 1. But Commander Cody, I can't explain why, but I've always loved Commander Cody, and this is my second to latest. So yeah, my second newest clone trooper, and the reason why he came so late is because, again, I wanted to make sure I could do the character justice, and I think I did, especially in the helmet. Which also, this is definitely based more off of the Clone Wars animation than the actual movie, because, for one, the movie it has a lot more detail in the helmet, so it was easier on me to do the Clone Wars version. But also, if you haven't seen my video on the Clone Wars, I absolutely love the Clone Wars, so why not make all of these look animation accurate? So, yeah, I just made him animation accurate. So, he's not completely accurate, though. He is missing his jetpack, which I'm still looking for a SH Figuarts scale backpack, or jetpack, sorry. But yeah, this guy is definitely my magnum opus, and the clone that I'm most proud of. And actually, you know what? I'm going to change the ranking. While recording. Like, while right in the middle of recording. Cody's number 1. Number 1 tied with this guy. Of course. What is a clone army without Captain Rex? Just looking at that helmet, I'm so proud of how this guy turned out. I still consider Cody to be my magnum opus, but I'm extremely proud of just this helmet alone. But when you put it with the entire clone, it's just I'm still surprised at how well this guy turned out. What, 3 years after making him? It's been 3 years since I made this guy, and I'm still constantly working on him and improving him. Like, the weld lines, actually, on his helmet were just silver paint earlier this year. And then after the Clone Wars finale, I was like, nah, Rex deserves better than just silver paint. So, I went in, repainted it, and it looks so much better. And I'm just so absolutely proud of how this guy looks. And I mean, this pauldron isn't accurate. I made it out of a Death Trooper from Rogue One's model kit. But for what it is, being a pauldron from a Death Trooper, I'm proud of how it turned out, because it still resembles the clone pauldron. And, I mean, even now, I'm not done making changes to him. I'm considering changing out the rangefinder, and I don't plan to stop making any of these clones better. Like, if I see a small little detail that can be changed in any of these, I will probably change them. And that's one of the reasons why I love these clones so much, is because they're so highly customable. Custable? customizable. But yeah, that's all of my custom clones. Making all of these clones has helped me get much better at customizing. Each one of these clones presented their own challenge, and I've overcome those challenges, and it's made me a better customizer. And I consider every single one of these clones the prized possessions of my collection. And I hope you guys enjoy looking at them as much as I do. Now, before I do the outro, I wanted to announce that I started a Patreon, which will be linked in the description. And it's obviously completely optional, but if you enjoy the content I create and would like to support me, it's always there. And at the end of the video, I will always shout out all of my patrons. So, my first shout out to my very first Patreon is Luis, aka Based Bacon on Instagram, so go follow him. Alright, and with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I mean, as you can tell, I'm so passionate about creating these clone troopers that I have spent literally hundreds of dollars buying these clone troopers. So I could paint them. So if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.